Hey guys, this is your assignment for Thursday. We're still working on elapsed time. Today I'm going to work 5 of these problems out with you. So we're going to start with number 3. The digital clock below shows the time Yana reached the bus stop on Tuesday morning. The digital clock shows 7:15. Before she left, Yana took 8 minutes getting dressed and 10 minutes eating breakfast. It took her 5 minutes to walk to the bus stop. What time did Yana begin getting ready? I'm going to read it one more time. The digital clock below shows the time Yana reached the bus stop on Tuesday morning, 7:15. Before she left, Yana took 8 minutes getting dressed and 10 minutes eating breakfast. It took her 5 minutes to walk to the bus stop. What time did Yana begin getting ready? All right, so we know that Yana got to the bus at 7:15. And it even shows a little number line here, and it shows 7:15 is kind of the end of that. That's when she gets to the bus. It talked about her getting dressed and eating breakfast and then having to walk to the bus stop. But it wants to know what time she began getting ready. So she began before walking to the bus stop and before eating breakfast and before getting dressed. So let's look at that. All right, so she took 8 minutes getting dressed, 10 minutes eating breakfast, and 5 minutes to walk to the bus stop. So that was 8 minutes, 10 minutes, and 5 minutes. So our number line over here at 7:15 is when she got to the bus stop. So we need to go back 5 minutes because 5 minutes was the walk. So first we're going to get over here at 7:15 and we're going to go back 5 minutes. Well, this is set up a lot like the clock. It's counting by fives. So we're just going to go back to 7:10. So that's going back 5 minutes. So that's her 5-minute walk. So now we've taken that away. Now we need to take away the 10 minutes that she spent eating breakfast. So if we go back 5 minutes and then another 5 minutes, now we've gone back that 10 minutes that she spent eating breakfast. So now we need to go back another 8 minutes. Well, we can go back 5 minutes, and then that means we still need to go back 3 more minutes. So we're at 6:55, and we need to go back 3 more minutes. So we're going to go back 6:54, 6:53, 6:52. So now we have gone back another 8 minutes, and we're at 6:52. So what time did Yana begin getting ready? She began getting ready at 6:52 a.m. All right, we're going to look at another one. We're going to go ahead and we're going to look at number 4, which is the very next problem. All right, so number 4 says, Mr. West begins his 50-minute music class at 8:05 a.m. Mr. West begins his 50-minute music class at 8:05 a.m. The first 15 minutes, the class practices scales. After that, the students rehearse songs for 25 minutes. The rest of the time, they practice playing recorders. How much time do the students play the recorders? Mr. West begins his 50-minute music class at 8:05. The first 15 minutes of the class practices scales. After that, the students rehearse songs for 25 minutes. The rest of the time, they practice playing recorders. How much time do the students play their recorders? All right, so let's look at some important information here. Mr. West begins his 50-minute music class at 8:05. So we know that the music class is 50 minutes total. They're starting at 8:05, and so the clock is starting at 8:05. The first 15 minutes, they practice scales. After that, they rehearse songs for 25 minutes. The rest of that 50 minutes is spent practicing recorders. So they just want to know how much time do they get to practice recorders? Well, they're there for a total of 50 minutes, okay? So we can almost kind of think about this as a strip diagram. I know they have that clock there for us, but we might not need it. We know 50 minutes is the total amount of time that they're in the class. We know that 15 of those minutes is spent practicing scales. 25 of those minutes is rehearsing songs. And then the rest of the time, they're practicing playing recorders. We just need to know how much time out of that 50 minutes do they get to practice playing their recorders. So we need to figure out how much time they're not practicing recorders out of the 50 minutes to see what's left here. So we kind of need to combine that other time there. So we're going to combine 15 and 25. To combine, we just need to add. 5 and 5 gives us 10. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's 40 minutes right there. So this is 40. We need to see what's left. Well, we were practicing for 50 minutes, or we were in class for 50 minutes. 40 minutes of it is used. So how much do we have left? We still have 10 minutes left. So how much time do the students play their recorders? 10 minutes. Sometimes we use the pictures that they give us, and sometimes we don't have to. This just happened to be one that we could use a strip diagram for. You could have used the clock to solve it. That would have been okay, because you could have looked to see what time class would end, and then you could have gone 15 minutes, 25 minutes, and then seen how much time you had left on the clock. But this just happened to be one that I feel like is solved a little bit easier using the strip diagram. All right, the next one that I want to work with you is number 5. So we're just going to the very next question. Uh-oh, those didn't erase. Hang on just a second. Okay. Mary's mother baked an apple pie. She put the pie in the oven at exactly 3:15 p.m. The pie needs to bake for 38 minutes. What time will Mary's mother need to take the pie out of the oven? Draw the hands on the clock to show the time Mary's mother needs to take the pie out of the oven. Mary's mother baked an apple pie. She put the pie in the oven at exactly 3:15 p.m. The pie needs to bake for 38 minutes. What time will Mary's mother need to take the pie out of the oven? Draw the hands on the clock to show the time Mary's mother needs to take the pie out of the oven. All right, so Mary's mother started the pie at 3:15, started cooking the pie at 3:15. She needed it to bake for 38 minutes. So what time is she going to take it out of the oven? So we're going to circle important information, and we're going to underline our question. So our question says, what time will Mary's mother need to take the pie out of the oven? They want us to show that on the clock. Well, we're actually going to use our clock to determine what time it is, and then I can erase some of that and put the end time on there. All right, so she put it in the oven at exactly 3:15, and it's going to bake for 38 minutes before she can take it out. So I'm actually going to start my clock on 3:15 so that I can use my clock to pass the 38 minutes. So 3:15 means that I'm going to put my hour hand at 3. And then I'm also going to put my minute hand at 3 because we have 5, 10, 15. So that's 3:15. May not be the prettiest, but I promise it's 3:15. All right. Now we need to let that pie bake for 38 minutes. So we're going to go around the clock 38 minutes. All right. So we know this is 5 minutes, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. All right, now we've gone around 30 minutes. So that minute hand, that longer hand, is all the way over here at the 9, and that's 30 minutes. Now we need to be able to go 8 more minutes. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's actually right there. Okay, so now we can take our hands and I'm going to change my color just a little bit so that you can see. All right, so our minute hand, our long hand, has made it over here. Our hour hand hasn't changed, but it has moved a little bit closer to the 4. That looks a little too long. Sorry, guys. I'm going to erase it some. All right, so it's not quite to our minute hand is not quite to the 55. It's at about the 53. So we're going to say she takes it out of the oven at 3:53. Okay, the next one that I would like to look at with you is number 8. So we're going to turn to number 8. Okay. This one says, the Newton family drove to San Antonio to visit the zoo. As soon as they arrived, they spent 40 minutes in the reptile center. They spent 11 minutes looking at the tiger exhibit. How many minutes have the Newtons spent at the zoo so far? The Newton family drove to San Antonio to visit the zoo. As soon as they arrived, they spent 40 minutes in the reptile center. They spent 11 minutes looking at the tiger exhibit. How many minutes have the Newtons spent at the zoo so far? So this one here is not asking us what time it is. They're not telling us what time they got there. They're really just telling us how many minutes they've been spending in certain areas at the zoo. So they want to know how much total time they've spent at the zoo so far. So our question, how many minutes have the Newtons spent at the zoo so far? So we know that as soon as they arrived, they spent 40 minutes at the reptile center, and now they've spent 11 minutes looking at the tiger exhibit. So 40 minutes were spent, and then 11 minutes were spent, and it doesn't mention any more time. So we're just going to add those minutes. There's 1 minute, and then 4 and 1. So now we have 51 minutes. So that's the total amount of time that they've spent at the zoo so far. We didn't have a start time, so we didn't need an end time. All right, let's see. That puts us at number 9. We're going to go over that one, and then you should be able to work the rest on your own. Emiliano is a pitcher on his baseball team. Practice starts each day at 5:45 p.m. for the pitchers and catchers only. After 15 minutes, the other players on the team arrive. The whole team then practices together for 60 minutes. At what time does the practice end for the whole team? All right, Emiliano is a pitcher on his baseball team. Practice starts each day at 5:45 p.m. for the pitchers and catchers only. After 15 minutes, the other players on the team arrive. The whole team then practices together for 60 minutes. At what time does the practice end for the whole team? All right, so we're going to underline our question. We need to know what time practice is going to end for everyone. All right, so practice starts each day at 5:45 for the pitchers and catchers only. So at 5:45, pitchers and catchers only starts. They're going to practice for 15 minutes before everybody else gets there. Then when everybody else gets there, it's another hour of practice because we know that 60 minutes equals an hour. All right, so 5:45 over here is when things begin. So at 5:45, pitcher and catcher practice starts. Pitcher and catcher practice is 15 minutes. We can look at this number line and we can see that this number line is counting in 15-minute intervals. It goes from 5:30 to 5:45. That's 15 minutes. 5:45 to 6. That's 15 minutes. So our jump for our pitcher and catcher practice is just going to be one jump, and that's going to be that 15-minute jump. All right, so now we're at 6 o'clock. Now at 6 o'clock, we're going to go a whole hour. Okay, so 15 minutes, then another 15 minutes, that's 30. Then another 15 minutes, that's 45. And then another 15 minutes, that's 60 minutes there because here was 30 minutes and here was 30 minutes. So that's 60 minutes. There was our 15. So we did 15 minutes for pitchers and catchers. We did an hour for the rest of the team. So practice ended at 7 p.m. All right, guys, you are ready to do the other 5 of these on your own. Do not forget to submit it on Google Classroom or take a picture of them and submit them on Class Dojo so that your teacher can see how you're doing and help you if you need any extra help.